I didn't love this album when it came out.
Oh,
I don't care if y'all get mad. I don't give a fuck. I didn't love this album when it came out. It was cool.
Where were you? You were here or you were Cali?
No, I was
hold on, shut up, Ralph. You gotta hear this.
I was in Conyers.
Okay.
And what year was this, B?
93?
No, I was not in Conyers yet. 93, I was still in California.
Doggystyle. Like this album is huge for me. You know, a lot of these albums, I'll be like, man, I ain't listen to this shit. I ain't got no connection to it. I'll be over here chilling. No, but this was my introduction to West Coast music.
Before Chronic?
Yeah, before Chronic, because the Chronic, I know, because the Chronic in Chicago, like I was in 2nd, 3rd grade, right? Like around when the Chronic and Doggystyle came out. Nothing off of the Chronic, I don't remember hit Chicago airwaves like that. But Gin and Juice, holy shit! Like it just constant repeat. And obviously at the time, so young, I never heard the dirty version until I moved to Miami. I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like this was completely, because I was on Biggie, Diddy, you know what I'm saying? All of the East Coast stuff, Nas, Jay. This shit kind of blew my mind, man. Like, cause just how it sounded, it didn't sound like anything else that I'd ever listened to. So this thing definitely took me different places. But the interesting thing is, I haven't listened to this album in a very long time. Like this is not one of these iconic classic albums that I'll go back to. I'll go back to Reasonable Doubt every now and again. This one I haven't. So when I, listened to it again, I was like, damn, I remember this, I remember that. But the thing I forgot about this project was how many fucking features Snoop had on here. You know what I'm saying? This was
kind of their thing, though.
It was kind of their thing. It was kind of their thing.
The Dolphins, RBS,
Nate,
Lady Arrays.
Lady Arrays. You know, another thing I realized, again, listening to this project, how unrefined Snoop sounded. Right, like he was smooth, right? Like that. I think that was the thing that caught everybody. Like this smooth gangster.
Never heard of.
Yeah,
it was something that you never heard of.
Out the West
talking, rapping.
Exactly.
You never heard that type of flow.
Who likes to part? Like he was just so.
Yeah, the way he kind of used his voice as an instrument, and yeah, man, he was fucking dope, man. Like,
and if I'm not mistaken, I think La Di Da was the first covered. Hit someone to do an actual
cover of
a hip hop song back then, that was kind of like the unwritten rule back in hip hop at that time for someone to really
flip that shit.
And and Drake gave it that West Coast funk sound.
Sinister had the crackhead
and this gave it like he told the same story, but it was like the Snoop West Coast.
It was like a hood version.
Yeah.
That's a dope idea.
We have to talk about probably one of the best opening singing of Ain't No Fun from Nate Dogg. Like, that is the best, the best, man. That is the best opening of a song. Like, the beat, everything. The beat was so catchy. That was like one of the most I know in Detroit, that was like one of the most freestyle over beats that people use for a long time. Yeah, in Detroit it was. Like every time when because there used to be a segment on Detroit radio station WJLB where like they have the freestyle, so you call in and freestyle, and they always played that beat. So every time someone call in, I'm ready to freestyle, and then people be on there freestyling. So it was like that's how big that beat was. But Nate Dogg, that's what made this. Yeah, that's what made this album so anticipated for me, because I remember hearing Snoop on the Chronic. I was like, man, who is this dude? Like, hearing the deep cover, the deep cover.
Wait, Nate Dogg is why you anticipated this album?
No.
Oh,
I'm just going back to the album. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going back to Snoop. Talking about Snoop.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's what made me anticipate this album so much, because hearing Snoop on the Chronic, I was like, and in 187 or the deep cover soundtrack, I was like, who is this dude? And then hearing them all over the Chronic, I'm like, who is this dude? So that was the perfect formula to have Drake produce your entire album.
I remember my cousin, he was older, about 6 years older than me. I remember him skipping school to go get this tape.
Really?
When it came out. I remember him and some other friends were skipping school to go get this tape when it came out.
And I hate G's Up, Hoes Down went on the CD.
Man,
because I had it on tape.
Confused me.
Yeah, because it was a sample clearance issue. But I had this was before I owned a CD player. So this is in '93. So I had the cassette tape, and I remember when I had a CD player, when I ended up buying a CD, I was like, damn, where's G's Up, Hoes Down? And
that shit happened to me.
Yep, but I kept the tape though.
I was always wondering, because it's the second to last track, but it's not on.
It's not on the CD.
Because I just noticed that like yesterday. it. It's not on my iPod. And I was like, maybe I just forgot to put it on there. So that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was a sample clearance.
And the skits are amazing on this too.
But that's when skits mattered.
It is.
Yeah.
And they were actually good.
Yeah.
And
It tied stories together.
Yeah. This had to been, and probably still is, one of the most anticipated albums to come out, just because of what Dre did musically, and then how Snoop, and how it just set everybody up. Dog Pound, all the features on there was so dope, because even Corrupt had some dope joints. It kind of set that whole G-Funk era. Like this album,
Snoop was the hot shit.
that's what I'm
around that
saying.
time.
Like this really started that G-Funk era in the West Coast that I like. Warren G, when Warren G came out with his album that next year, like it was just like they started a whole sound movement that we've never heard in the West Coast, and like having these unique MCs like a Snoop Dogg, like a Warren G, you know, and Dog Pound coming out. Yeah, Nate Dogg was like so amazing. So like this like I remember playing this crazy during that time.
It was the hip hop version of like Parliament and shit like that, because he had sampled a lot of it, but it was like hours, right?
Yeah.
As
like our time. Yeah.
As a teenager, it was like hours. It was like my dad and you know his friends and his brother or whatever had their Parliament, their George Clintons and shit like that. And it was like Dre came in and Warren G came in and Daz, and they flipped it. And that's why I think a lot of it kind of carried over to like, that's why it became so iconic and so impactful over the years, because of that sound. That's that familiar sound that all of us knew because we heard it in our households growing up. Dad put the records on, and you know, Atomic Dog come on and shit like that. So to hear it replicated and remixed and transformed into that, it kind of, you know, made it was familiar. It was familiar.
And you know what's like crazy dope about that is that like that wasn't the Chronic. And it's like Doggystyle was so different from the Chronic, but we still fucking loved it. Like that just shows you how
crazy Dre was. How crazy Dre was, man.
It was kind of an extension of the Chronic, though.
That's what I always thought.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought it had it.
But it put its own spin to it.
I thought it was more playful than the Chronic, but I thought it was definitely very similar to the Chronic.
I didn't think it was similar. I think I thought the rapping was. I thought Snoop sounded similar, but the sound was different.
Exactly. It still had those all that same shit. It was just Dre was more diverse on this one. Because like even if you look at just like the first 3 tracks, like you got the more playful, like upbeat Gin and Juice, and then right after that you got the Shiznit, which is like really dark. You know what I mean? And then you got Lottie. It's like Dre was doing more diverse production, but it was definitely
I didn't
of the Chronic.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was an extension of the Chronic. It felt like a different type of tape. It felt like, okay, this is Snoop Dogg.
I think Dre didn't want to give him the same exact shit that he just did.
Right.
Suge said that Daz did this shit, and Dre just came in and kind of cleaned it up and put his own spin on it.
So he engineered it.
I heard like stories about that too.
I also think it was kind of dope that like Snoop wasn't even the first person to start rapping on this shit. Like,
that's not dope.
You didn't think that was dope?
No.
You don't like Rage kicking this shit off?
No.
You don't like a verse?
It's not that I didn't like your verse. I just thought it was weird. Why would you do that? Because this is your debut album.
But it worked though.
No, it didn't. I skipped that track so hard, so fast every time.
What?
The only thing I like about the track is George Clinton. I don't really care for it. It's not that Rage's voice or her verse is bad. It's just I'm putting on a Snoop Dogg album. I don't really want to hear Rage.
But didn't people do that back then like that?
No, that was not a common thing, especially for a debut album.
I don't think that's ever been a common thing. That's not common in hip hop.
Because remember when Earl did it, everyone was like, "What the fuck? Why start off the verse with or the album with some other motherfucker?"
I remember that.
It's not a common thing to do. It's very rare. So it's confusing that you don't get Snoop until really the 3rd song.
I hear what you're saying, but the way they did this shit and the way she was rapping and that beat and everything, this shit was fucking dope.
But that's like, okay, Snoop, where's Snoop at?
And Snoop didn't even say, he just came in and said a line or two, and then that shit went into, that shit was fucking dope, man. They did it so well though. Like it seemed like fucking seamless. Like it just seemed like it seemed
seamless.
Yes, it was not seamless. It was seamless. It was a seamless transition from the way that Dre put this shit in.
There you go, kid. Double down, dog.
Hey, baby, go get the dog. Baby, go handle that shit.
Yeah, that was intro. But the G, man, her and Snoop are so different. rap-wise. She's so aggressive, and
that's why he didn't even rap.
That's why it's just like, oh, what's going on right now?
You gotta think. Right. You hear, lady? Look.
And your ass wasn't even born yet.
I didn't love this album when it came out.
Oh,
I don't care if y'all get mad. I don't give a fuck. I didn't love this album when it came out. It was cool.
Where were you? You were here or you were Cali?
No, I was
hold on.
here.
Shut up, bro.
I was in Conyers.
Okay.
And what year was this, B?
93?
No, I was not in Conyers yet. 93, I was still in California. Remember, I told y'all that was not the type of rap that I loved. And the thing about it is, when that shit came out, it didn't sound like West Coast to me. I was fucking like, what, 12? No. I was young. In 91, yeah, I was young.
Oh, we're talking about the Chronic.
Yeah. Okay. In 91, I was like 12 or something like that. That didn't sound West Coast to me. I mean, West Coast didn't even really have like a
It was just gangster rap. It was known for gangster rap.
Yeah. We were just known for just beats and motherfuckers talking about shooting people. That's it. So when Chronic came out, he wasn't talking about that.
Yeah.
So it didn't sound like California to us. It's weird thinking about it now because now, of course, I fucking love the album. Mm-hmm. But I didn't love the album until I was in high school. Because then I could appreciate the album because I knew where it was coming from. At 12, nah, man, I wasn't like, man, Chronic is the best album ever. Right. No, it was like, this is weird.
So fast forward
to what?
93.
Yes. So when Doggystyle came out, I liked it and I thought it was cool. But again, to me it was Chronic Part 2. So I really wasn't vibing with it like that. I was still listening to West Coast rap.
So this one didn't sound West Coast to you?
Nah, like I said, like for me being fucking 12, 13, I was used to Spice One. Motherfuckers talking about, and DJ Quick. This didn't sound like that. The thing about it is this, like it's associated with West Coast because it was Dre and we know now. But back then, that sound was not associated with the West Coast yet. So it's not like when this shit came out and you didn't know any better, you were just like, oh, this shit sound West Coast.
I feel like Snoop sounded so West Coast though.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
But I feel like Snoop, I said Snoop himself. He sounded
like him rapping?
Yes, he sounded like a West Coast guy. Like I don't remember hearing any, like even Dre and like Easy and all them. I don't remember them sounding like Snoop.
If you were around in California, I think it was a little bit different.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think when you're in another area and you look at that time from now, you're automatically like, man, that shit sound West Coast. But it didn't. It didn't sound
I get
West
you.
Coast.
Yeah, I get you. You being there, you know.
Like,
so,
he didn't like
it wasn't defined
to
yet.
us.
So you
But
can't.
this was the beginning of
Exactly.
That's my point. Exactly. Even now, I don't return to Doggystyle. I listen to Chronic at least once a month. Doggystyle, I would say it's been years.
But I think Doggystyle is absolutely a mood album.
I've never in that mood.
Like,
I don't think I've ever in
like
that mood.
now. Now, back then, of course,
it was
like crazy.
Like crazy, but it's definitely a mood album.
Now I'm like, this shit is definitely.
It's a mood album. You gotta be in a mood for that funk sound. You know what I'm saying?
Because I played it so much, and kind of maybe going back to what you were saying, because I played it like all the freaking time. This was all you played this, you played the Chronic, you played like all kind of shit. Like you wore this motherfucking shit out. Yeah. So now to see him was like, oh man, I want to hear Doggystyle. Like it's more of a feeling of nostalgia. Like I'll put it on for that.
And especially now that I'm older and I think about things in a different way, I don't really want to hear about somebody beating up women and it ain't no fun if the homies can't have it. No, bro. If you sit down for 5 minutes and read through these lyrics.
You open up your gap.
That's the best fucking song intro. Like that almost. I had respect for you, lady.
But now I take it all back
because you gave me all the pussy. and you licked my balls.
Come on, Mike. God
look, it's just being older and trying to be more mature. when I put it on now, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, I get you, man.
This was iconic because when it first came out, like I said, when I was in 3rd grade and it was nothing but gin and juice on the radio. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of, in 3rd grade, how can you really, have that type of connection? But it was a dope ass song. So when I got older and I was able to digest the album, it was just like, holy fuck. And like I said, this was my introduction to West Coast music. So this was completely different, you know? So for me, it was iconic just for that. And just listening to Mike, like Dr. Dre and Snoop kind of redefined the sound of the West. So at the time, obviously, you don't know, like Mike was saying, it's different, I don't really fuck with it. But now, you know, especially me, listening to it 6 years later, that was West Coast, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So by the time I got to it, it redefined the sound, it was the sound. So that's why it was so huge to me.
Yeah, I think this album is iconic because, you know, obviously it kicked off the whole G-Funk movement, but man, signature songs, Snoop had a signature style that was exclusive to him. He even referenced people biting his style on here. Like, you can pick any song, damn near any song on here, and play it, and people would know it. Like, it became, or is, a freaking classic, man. And, you know, it has catchphrases. Ain't no fun as the homie can't have.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, catchphrases.
Yeah, it has a lot of stuff that we still say today. Even
We don't love them hoes.
yeah, even lyrics that we still say today. Like, there was just stuff that you pulled off that you know, used in your everyday conversations among the people that I hung around with. Gin and juice on the radio. Like, come on, man. Yeah. You know, he pulled the dramatics out of retirement and put them on. He delivered on his debut album. That's kind of hard to do. And he was like the top selling hip hop album at the time before Eminem came on, like first week out, over 800,000 copies sold. And the album cover, like, come on, man, like,
it's classic.
It was freaking nuts, man. So yeah, man, this thing blew up, and it's still an essential today. Everybody should have this in their discography.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and simple. I just think, me personally, I think this album is iconic just because back then I remember it being the most anticipated hip hop album to ever, like, almost ever come out. I can't think of a album, even now, like even in recent years, that was so anticipated.
I agree with Ralph that this is the album that made people push a sound onto the West. This was not automatically, oh, this is what the West sounds like. These guys made this what the West sounds like. And I think that that's really dope. Like, this album kicked off a whole it kicked off a sound, it kicked off a movement. And then with B, like, there was no avoiding this album. Like, everyone was looking forward to hearing it. And I know this is the semantics game, but everyone was like, man, this Snoop record is gotta be good. It's gotta be good. I don't even know if it was really so much, like, I don't even know if people really cared that much that Dre was producing it. I think that everyone just heard what Snoop did on The Chronic, but I definitely think it's iconic because shit, it kicked off a career, it kicked off a sound, it kicked off a movement, and that's really it.
And phrases and shit.
Yeah.